Get the next.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Phoenix, and welcome to an X-Pound special. Yes. This is an X-Pound special look series that we'll be doing, looking at the 5 new potential pilots on Amazon Prime to see which ones we like the best and which one or ones we think should be turned into shows. Joining me for this look at the Prime Pilot series, we have from the Mole Hole and subsidiaries, as well as XGR, it's Chris the Mole.
And thank you.
Who we would like to thank for the idea for this series.
And thank you.
And of course, over there, joining us, the movie guy, Marcus Shadow.
Thank you.
So, today's first pilot, we'll be alternating hosts for this series. I am today's first host, as I picked the first pilot. And today's pilot, we're going to be looking at the Ron Perlman psychological drama, Hand of God. The basic premise of the series is this, of the pilot that we saw, which ran an hour and 8 minutes. It can be viewed for free, currently on Amazon Prime, if you want to go check it out. Ron Perlman plays a judge who kind of goes a little nuts at one point after his son is shot in the head and his daughter-in-law is raped for an hour in front of his son-in-law before his son-in-law shoots himself in the head. And he kind of goes a little nuts and is found naked in a fountain speaking in tongues and begins to believe that he has been blessed by God after getting baptized at a point that he barely remembers, and believes that God is giving him visions of things that will help solve crimes. In this case, namely the crime of who the hell raped his daughter-in-law. And he believes that he is destined to follow these clues and to sort of, or if he learns, he starts following the clues, trying to figure out what is this that I have, is this a gift, what is this? And at the same time, he's a very prolific judge in this city, very well known. His family have been prolific in the city for generations, and the mayor needs him to be focused on doing this shit for money and business, and his wife is trying to maintain the family legacy, and he's kind of obsessed with finding this killer because he thinks his son, who's in a coma with a feeding tube, is speaking to him from within his coma, and there's a lot of craziness going on and side plots and things like that there. So, we don't really have a format for this. We're just going to kind of talk about it a little bit, what we thought of the episode as a whole, any problems we saw, good things, and we'll give it a rating at the end and whether we think it should be a full show. So, who would like to register their opinions first? Okay, I guess it'll be me. Well, personally, it was not quite what I expected. I thought it was going to be a little more. When I heard, oh, the judge is going to dole out vigilante justice auditions from God, I thought it was going to be a little more person of interest style, but instead of with God instead of the machine. Not really what it was. At the same time, I thought Ron Perlman was very, very good in the role. I thought he acted it very well with the emotion behind this man with a fractured psyche and going through all the stuff with his family and his son and his daughter-in-law and everything else. I thought he was very good in that role. I thought the guy playing the priest, the former soap opera star turned priest that baptized him, he was great in that role where he was kind of unsure, and it seemed like he was kind of a sleaze, but not totally sure about who he was. My favorite character is the character of a gentleman who was also a member of this church, who we see leading a Bible study, and then he beats a dude up and ends up in court, and the judge sets him free because he realizes he knows this guy from the church, and the guy saw what happened in the church, realizes that he's been blessed to dole out justice, and near the end of the episode, he hires this guy to work for him as sort of an enforcer and a guy in the street to do the dirty work. Really like that character. I think that's going to be my favorite character, that guy. Overall, it felt like there was a lot going on. Like they were trying to get a lot in here, and I think it clusterfucked it a little bit. I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was a fun plotline, seeing like everything's connecting, but there was just a lot there, and because there was so much, it ended up being very long, and it felt like it was just, come on, we got the idea type thing. But overall, I would like to see it as a series. I think if they had a series in a regular time, they could space out all the different plots, what they were doing, and make it a little more easier to work with, make it a little easier to take in each episode, kind of space out the plot lines, kind of better organize what they were doing. I think with these pilots, the way a lot of show creators are viewing it is it's kind of a balls to the wall, kind of throw everything to the wall and see what sticks type deal. So they're throwing everything they possibly have because they're afraid to leave something out. All that's going to be what cost us. So I can kind of see why that's an issue. But at the same time, I feel like it was a good pilot. I feel like it could make a good show as long as they kind of toned down some of the subplots, kind of focused in on what the show was about, and was focused on the characters, the development of those characters, especially Ron Perlman's character, because that's what really drove this thing and made it interesting and made you want to see more of what was going on.
And fair enough. Yeah, I'll admit I was the opposite with you with the clusterfuck thing. As I mentioned to you, I felt personally everything that was in there was the perfect amount of stuff that was in there, but then they dragged the stuff that was in there out too long because it was like, what, an hour and 7 minutes or something?
Thereabout.
They could have done it in 42 minutes like most TV shows of that caliber or that type. I don't know. The effects looked pretty cool, like when he pricked the guy's foot and the blood leaves the trail and he has to follow the trail, and I thought that was done pretty good.
Yeah,
I'll
same thing with the coffin.
I'll admit, as I mentioned to you, it was a little different to what I expected going in, because as I mentioned to you with the joke, and I believe you said Marcus feels the same way, I'll admit I did expect more Batman style, less Ghost Whisperer. However,
Yep.
I like that because instead of, okay, beating people up, we got more of a intellectual, character-driven story, which I'm always in favour of that. Overall, like I said, it's not bad. It's good to watch. It's just the first episode dragged. However, I can kind of see with some of the plots and all the like little chains of plots and webs they have going throughout the story, I can kind of see this being perfect when they release it to just, as people say, binge watch. Or you know what I mean, like watch the whole box set in one sitting and see all the stories resonate and evolve. I could totally see that.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I will admit the pilot didn't make me want to go out and see it right now because of the pacing. The pacing was a little too stretched.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when you take what's good and you stretch it too much of a good thing is still too much.
That's true.
That's how I felt that's how I felt about that stuff, about the overall appeal of the show, at least. And I also feel they've made a mistake with the premise.
Okay.
Because it's God giving him visions, and it's God backing this guy and stuff like that, and it may or may not be God. Hopefully they make it so it's not God, because the one thing I worry about with a show like this, making it God, is I worry the religious viewers watching it may possibly take offense, and that could be one of the things that hurts it and stops it coming out, because a load of religious people may vote it down instead of up.
Yeah, I think that's why they had that thing near the end there, where the doctor was explaining to the wife that, oh no, this is sort of he has like a brain
He
problem.
was explaining it to the mayor.
To the mayor, okay. And he was, I think he might have this brain problem. It's giving him these hallucinations that he thinks are from God, but they're really not. It could be a serious mental problem in his brain that we need to look at. So I think they're trying to think that, oh, it's going to turn into a fight. Oh, he wants the visions because he believes they're from God and they're doing this sort of thing. But the mayor and maybe the wife later are trying to get him into the doctor and get this fixed because they would, oh no, this needs to be fixed. This isn't a real thing. It's actually reminiscent of, Marcus may remember this. I know he's not that big into that series, but it's very reminiscent of Ben Sisko on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember that episode. I cannot recall.
And I agreed with the whole, they made it so it could be either. However, you could also argue when people have had religious experiences in real life, if you believe in the religious experience, the science may turn around and say it's not, but to the religious people it still is. And I feel that I just feel it's a risky area, if that makes sense. I mean, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I hate the show because of it. I'm just saying it's a little risky for a premise.
Yeah.
It is, but like I said, it reminds me of that Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode. I can't remember the name of it, but basically, Benjamin Sisko started getting these visions from the prophets, the aliens or beings that live in the wormhole that the Bajorans worship as gods, and he started getting these visions from the prophets. And it's sort of like this ability, this precognition to be able to see things and talk to people and help people, becoming the emissary. And it was fully becoming the emissary and enjoyed having these visions of being able to help people, even though it showed that whatever was causing this in his brain was causing the expansion of a part of his brain that was overloading something that was going to potentially majorly damage or kill him. But he insisted that, no, I need the visions. I need to be able to help these people. And eventually it got to the point where he got knocked unconscious, and the Starfleet Admiral tried to order Dr. Bashir to perform the procedure on him that would get rid of or reverse this, and he refused to do it. So yet we need a next of kin, and it fell to his his teenage son Jake Sisko to make the call, and Jake Sisko told him to do the surgery. And at first, when he woke up, he was all distraught that no, the visions they're gone, no. And it was this interesting dilemma of the religious belief of Ben Sisko that these are visions from the prophets who are gods, versus the medical thing. Oh no, this is the thing in your brain that's going to kill you. And I was very reminded of that with this.
Yeah, I will also say, with the fact the doctor said it's not unprecedented and talked about it, and how it was meant to be visions from God, I can kind of see some point in the series, if it gets picked up, I can kind of see a character getting the same type of visions, but for whom he's meant to kill, thinking they come from God or Satan. You know what I mean? Sort of like the anti-version. I can totally see that type of character being introduced.
That would be cool. And the only thing is, though, if you're going to explain it medically, like the hallucinations are just a random thing in his brain, how do you explain that they actually led him to the right killer?
My guess is maybe they're trying to say if they did with the medical stuff, it's because he's so used to being a judge and he's so good at being a judge that maybe, you know what I mean, sort of that thing like they've mentioned before now, if your brain can remember stuff that you don't actually quite remember. That's why hypnosis, scientifically speaking, has unlocked memories that people don't have. And with his keen judge intellect and how he's put together cases and stuff before, all of that together with this brain thing is putting them together and is showing him who he thinks has killed them based upon the evidence. Which, if that's the case and they want to prove it's not God or something, there needs to be one episode where the premonition is completely ass wrong.
Yeah. There does.
But I don't know. What do you think, Marky?
And let's go over to Marcus Shadow here for his opinion, and find out why, despite me being the asexual here, he disliked the naked black chick.
Wow, way to completely invalidate the mole. Good job. But yes, I'm kind of in the same boat as you guys. It's not what I expected. Like the mole, I kind of expected kind of more like the Punisher meets Marv from Sin City. That's kind of what I expected. And then I got this, which in and of itself wasn't bad. It was an interesting show. I felt the mature rating was unnecessary, except for maybe the language. Like, if they wanted to keep the language in there, fair enough. But I felt they went a little far with that mature rating, with maybe some of the language, with definitely the darkness and stuff, and like the sex scenes and stuff. Not that I didn't enjoy it, mind you, but I felt kind of like it was put there because they could do it, and I'm just like, it's never a good reason to put something into a story.
I think they did that to give it more of the gritty, like realistic atmosphere. Like, this isn't your typical, I don't know, like Columbo-style investigator. He's got this three-dimensionalness to him. Yeah, some of the stuff is a little gory. Like, I still loved the foot prick, where he pricked the foot and all the blood ran and stuff. But I feel they may have done more of the colourful swearing and the sex stuff and stuff to try and make it feel more grounded in realism than stuff that's also like this. Like, I compared it to Ghost Whisperer, which I love. That one was too over the top happy, too cheerful, no swearing, and so, you know what I mean? Although that was still good, I still loved the Ghost Whisperer.
I don't know, I just felt they could have achieved the same thing without showing, like the full frontal nudity and stuff. Well, almost full frontal nudity, but you know what I mean. Like,
I could agree.
I don't know. I just felt that they did it because they could, as opposed to because it needed to be there to serve as a story.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Some of it, not all of it, but some of it did feel like it was there to be there. I kind of see it like, as well as trying to make it more realistic, I feel the tone of this is they try to make it like a HBO show. Because if you watch a HBO show, that's always got nudity, fucking gore and swearing and stuff like that, because, like you said, they can do it. It doesn't always work out, though, as I've mentioned in the past. For example, I prefer Vampire Diaries to True Blood because it put me off on True Blood where they're always fucking naked or always fucking or always being too gory. I'm like, no, I don't care about that stuff. I want the story. But I think that's kind of what they were going. I think, you know what I mean? I think that's what they're going for, the realism and the HBO-ness.
Which is fine. Also, Mole, you mentioned the pacing. I didn't really notice the stretch, them stretching it out, but now that you mention it, yeah, they did kind of stretch out a few things. But the thing that really struck me was that the pacing was like all over the place. and the editing was just really you could have done a much better job editing this thing, because there were so many quick cuts and it felt like it was jumping from story to story to story, and it just, I don't know, it kind of threw me off because it never really stayed in one place for too long.
I can agree with that. I can completely agree with that. Although it will be worth pointing out for anyone listening, because I'd seen the Amazon pilots in January and the ones last season and stuff, that this may not be how the show is edited once it comes out fully. Because, for example, there was a cartoon one on there. Oh, what the hell was it called? I think it was like the Wizard of Oz Kids or whatever it was, and basically that one was designed for little kids, and I watched that with my niece and nephew, and it was like Dorothy as a little girl going to Oz and meeting like the Scarecrow girl and stuff. During part of that, it'd stop and it'd cut to just a storyboard animatic and stuff like that, because if they haven't quite polished it or finished it, they're waiting for it to be picked up before they go full on with the proper editing and stuff.
Fair enough.
However, if it's not that, then yeah, they do kind of need to find a better director. Well, not a better director, a better editor, I'll say, because the direction didn't suck. It's not flat out sucky. Okay. It was just the quick cuts were kind of hurting it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I kind of enjoyed it. I liked the intelligence behind it, if you will. You know, I like that everything was like psychological and stuff like that, and it could make for an interesting TV show.
It could.
And the ending, I'll admit, did kind of make me want to see the next episode. It's like, wait, they? Who are they? It's like, I will admit that's a great way to end the episode.
If you love it where people always talk about they and being really vague, you're gonna love TNA. Who remembers the TNA storyline of they?
Oh, yeah, before the Aces and Eights were revealed.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's the dipper. I'm not comparing it to TNA. That was just a joke, because as people may have noticed, us three also review wrestling. Yay. Yay.
Yes.
But I will admit, like I mentioned, I'm not running out to watch the next episode, because I'm curious to see how they edit it better with the pacing, because it felt too stretched out to me, to the point that before we hit the end, I was bored shitless. Not in a bad way, like I'm bored because it's shit. I was just bored because I was like, come on, this is dragging out too long now.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I wanted to bring up too, and I brought this up to Jim the other night when we were talking about it after we watched it, because we watched it together. And I wanted to get your opinions on it, Mole. I felt that the audio was too soft, that when they were speaking, a lot of the times it was hard to hear, especially Ron Perlman. It's like, dude, speak up.
I will say I did not have that, but that might be what you watched it on.
Oh?
I don't know how you watched it.
I watched it on Internet Explorer through Amazon.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure that could be one of your computer settings or something. I watched it on the TV with the PS3 through the Amazon app, and it sounded normal. It sounded like a normal TV show to me.
Fair enough.
Okay, but
so I don't know. I turned down then.
Like I said, I don't know. It could have just been me, or it could have been, I don't know, maybe their internet player is not as good as their PlayStation player or something. Which, FYI, you guys totally should download the PlayStation app, especially if we're going to be watching this, because you can watch it on the full screen TV whenever we go to watch these.
Yeah, and it was probably just me, because Jim, if I recall, actually watched on his computer. Did you not?
I watched on my computer. There were a couple of parts where it was soft and hard to hear, but for the most part, I was able to hear it.
Fair enough. So it might have just been me.
Andy.
Jim also mentioned you had a problem with the wife character.
I don't know. Jim viewed her one way, I viewed her another, and I could kind of see where Jim was coming from, but that just wasn't the feel I was getting from her. Because, I don't know, it just felt a little off to me that you have sleazy mayor guy who only cares about the money and the city, of course, but more on the business side of it. And then you have the judge who's like, you know, he obviously cares a great deal about the city, as Jim pointed out, and, you know, with his family legacy and all that, but he's also trying to fucking grieve. His son just shot himself in the head. His daughter-in-law was raped. Come on, give the guy a break. You know, and in his grief, all of this weird, crazy shit is happening, and then the wife is caught in the middle, And to me, it just felt a little bit weird, especially if she's not supposed to be a sort of villain character, that she would value the business side of his life over the personal side. In other words, it felt off to me that she cared more about trying to get this deal through than actually being there for her husband, who she purportedly loves. Because she knows in his deteriorated state, if he's put into the public, it'll fuck everything up. But she goes and does it anyway because it's what's best for business. And I'm just like, really? Even though you know better? And you're still surprised that shit like that happened? Really? It just felt like she wasn't supporting him. That she was putting him into these situations that she knew what the outcome was going to be, but did it anyway because it was, quote, best for business.
Fair enough. I'll admit with the wife, yes, sometimes it was a little off, like you said, for those reasons. However, other times with how she was playing the character, I felt it's more of a, you know what I mean? Because if she's his wife, then her son's died too. She's going through the same stuff. I felt it's like different people grieve differently. And some people, when they're grieving, just shut off their emotions and try to get back to their life. So I felt it could have been that. However, they could have handled it well. So I'd be sort of in the middle with her.
Yeah, that was kind of
what
the
Jim
point.
felt.
That was kind of the point I was bringing up. Is it seemed to me like she was trying to keep herself together for the sake of the family, as the one who was not, was not having problems. And it seemed to me like she was aware of her husband's, the legacy and the city and what he cared about. And it seemed to me she was looking at her husband like, he's in this, having these, this mental breakdown because of his grief. But at some point in time, probably after we unplug the machines on our son, if we have to, at some point this is going to be over. He's going to finish grieving. He's going to look back on this. And if I let him start following this shit around and be naked in a fountain and shit, and embarrass himself, he's going to hate me for it later. Because once he comes back to his senses, he's going to look at this and be like, honey, I know I'm kind of an asshole at this, but I appreciate that you care enough about my legacy and about the city that I care about, to make sure that I was where I needed to be, to make sure everything kept running while I was in my weird deteriorated state, that I didn't fuck it up. And I think that he would have appreciated that after the fact, and that was how she was looking at it, of knowing her husband for the 30-some-odd years that they were married, or however long they were married, that this is what he would want if he was in his right mind, and right now he just wasn't in his right mind.
Doesn't that make her sort of a bad wife?
Exactly.
Only because the only reason I say it does not make her a bad wife is I know for a fact Rick the Hammer, of my ex-GR co-host, I know his wife always lets him be naked in a fountain. He can't get enough of being naked in a fountain. He selfies himself being naked in a fountain. And he goes on record as saying that's what Rick do. No, I'm kidding. Like I said, I'm sort of in the middle. Like I said, I saw it being sort of what Jim said, but at the same time I felt at parts they sort of went overboard, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm sort of in the middle.
Because the other thing I felt too is that, and it might be part of her grieving, but it felt like she was kind of hanging on to who her husband used to be, who she feels her husband is, as opposed to who her husband is becoming. Because yeah, he's going nuts, but at the same time, I saw flashes of, and I thought they did this well in the show, albeit, you might not have noticed it because everything was so fucking drawn out.
Yeah.
Things got boring. But I saw flashes of the character evolving, which is a hard thing to do in a pilot when you don't know the character. But I saw him actually becoming a better person through the baptism and all that stuff, misguided as though it may have been. Because throughout the course of the episode, you see him realize how unfaithful he had become, how much he actually does love his wife and his family and stuff. All while going off on this mad quest to get the rapist, but still.
Yeah, he starts to realize, he tells the lady he's been having an affair with his office, I can't do this anymore, I'm baptized now, this isn't right. He starts taking a closer look at his life and realizing that, there was a higher calling, this is a higher calling for me, that clearly what I've been doing with my life has not been right, so I gotta change things up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
I don't know, and then the whole, creepy, scummy mayor guy trying to get him to sign that document, and his wife supporting that when he himself turned around and said, "Look, I'd love to sign your document, but I'm not in any condition to actually, read and understand what's in the document, and I don't feel comfortable signing something I don't understand."
Yeah.
Yeah, my
And-
guess is it's going to be revealed the mayor is a major villain, and
Probably.
probably going to be revealed he's like for lack of a better term, because I'm just going to use a comic book analogy or film or TV, whatever you want to go with. But I'm going to say it seems to me like the mayor's going to become his Lex to his Superman, and it seems like the mayor sort of, you know what I mean, just tugged the right strings with the wife to make her agree, and I can kind of A, see him just being an evil scumbag, or B, actually turning around and being a massive villain, especially when he realizes, like later on, if this guy's constantly using his newfound powers to, and I'm using air quotes to powers because I don't know what you'd call them, but powers to basically stop crime and all that. If people find out, it could be revealed he's now doing a better job at solving cases than the police, which makes the mayor look bad, which means I can kind of see the mayor going after him. You know what I mean? Just something along those lines, and I kind of see the mayor being a major player within this chess game.
I can see that.
I could kind of see the mayor being tied to they.
Yeah. I feel like they is gonna be the asshole in the car that was negotiating with another town to build this building. I feel like he's gonna be the head asshole.
Maybe they are going to be the dark judges.
Boom. There you go.
I had to make a judge joke. I'm sorry. Come on. It was a
had to
judge
be.
series. I had to make it once. And I didn't want to make the
Yes.
obvious I am the law crap that everyone spews.
Yeah.
I also mentioned to Jim Mull that I could also see this going in kind of a like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. route, where he like puts together a team that works for him.
I can kind of see that, but I see it not as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I see it being more like your Arrow or your Angel, depending on which show you've seen.
Yeah.
Because I kind of see him operating outside of the law, but I see him having someone that shares his secret to help him out, and maybe someone else, but I don't see it being a full team. I see it being like a couple of close-knit people, you know what I mean? Like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a bigger team than Angel was when he just had Cordelia and Doyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that Perlman's gonna have like his wife sort of, and mostly he's gonna have the priest guy and the other guy he hired that beat up the dude at the Bible study.
Although, interesting thing, why does he have what was the exact reasoning that the doctor gave for why he was experiencing these? Just for our viewers, so you can remind them, Jim.
I don't
You
actually.
explained it better than me.
Well, just I don't. They didn't give. I don't remember the specifics. But just they mentioned that it was something wrong in his brain that was causing hallucinations that he was thinking were visions from God. But I don't remember exactly what he said. What was causing those?
Yeah, because I was going to say, I had another theory, which is one of the reasons I like this, because we also talk about where these shows could possibly go.
Yes.
I was thinking, when you mentioned that, I was thinking of something else as well. The way you worded it, I was like, oh, I hadn't thought about that until you'd worded it that way the first time. What if his son wakes up out the coma and has the same thing? But what if his son's the villain? What if his son's the one that has the same villains, but same visions, but he believes that's who he's supposed to kill? Or, you know what I mean? Or something along those lines.
That could be
I think
interesting.
that could be an interesting fucking dynamic.
That could be kind of cool.
And if it's a mental thing as well, if it's his son, I can sort of see that be like, and again, I'm going to use comics, fuck it. I can kind of see that being like his kryptonite, because if it's tied to his brain, it'll be tied to his emotions. And if he's going against his son, it could make him more emotionally unstable to the point that it could affect his visions. Huh?
It could.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's just a really out there theory, or if that would be something cool. I'm not entirely sure.
Don't know. It'd be interesting, that's for sure. Also, Mole, I mentioned this to Jim, but am I the only one who, when you take a look at the priest guy, like all I could see was James Franco?
I could kind of see that.
Yeah, Marcus mentioned he was just waiting for the guy to turn around and go, so good.
Yep.
I could kind of see that, but And I think we should probably
Yes.
wrap it up.
Also, I just want to ask: was I the only one that looked at the sleazy mayor guy and thought, "Why isn't this Tim Meadows?"
Ha!
Because that
Or
dude just
William
reminded me of
Dafoe.
some kind of. He reminded me of some kind of cross between Tim Meadows and Don Cheadle.
Yeah. Well, like I said, how about if it was William Dafoe?
That could be
And if he
Cool
was the
too.
actual main villain, imagine William Dafoe, Green Goblin, going against Hellboy.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I'm kidding. I could totally see what you said. But I will say it was also acted
That's
well.
that's the finale of the series. 5-6 years down the road, is they revealed the whole thing was just a hallucination that Norman Osborn put into this drug that he injected Hellboy with, and they're actually Hellboy and Green Goblin fighting each other.
Yeah. But like I said, I think
Yeah,
it's
the
time to wrap
acting
it
was
up.
very well done for the most part. So I approve.
Yeah.
So did we want to do our
Alrighty,
final
so
thoughts?
yeah, to our final thoughts as to ratings. Overall, I think this could be a good series if they, like I said, work at the editing a little bit, if they tone down the pacing, and if they kind of maybe weed out some of the subplots, maybe organize a little better so you can more easily follow the events of what's going on. I feel like if they kind of, they threw a lot in here, if they spread it out a little bit, take it a little easier, give the audience a chance to absorb everything that's going on, I think this could be a really good series. I think people would watch it. I think it's a lot of fun, as long as they don't go a little too far into the weird powers. As long as they keep that in check enough that it's believable that it's just hallucinations, I think that would work. And I'm
Did you
interested
do
to see
air
where it
quotes?
goes. I did air quotes.
Good.
And I'd be interested to see where it goes. So, overall, I would say for this series, I would give it a 7.5 to 8 overall for this pilot.
Fair enough. And I'll say this is why I wanted to do the Amazon ones, because I will say Amazon pilots are great because A, we're getting to see the pilots and vote on the TV shows ourselves, which is pretty damn awesome. And B, they also do stuff other shows don't, if that makes sense, because it's like with Jim mentioning the subplots and stuff, one of the reasons that works is these are made with a different audience in mind. Like doing that on, say, Person of Interest, I mentioned that because Jim watched that, that's a weekly show. Therefore, that wouldn't really work that well because you want something that the audience could remember from week to week. However, with Amazon ones, you have to also remember the format which they're in, digital distribution. They're all going to be coming out at once, and most of these shows, when they all come out at once, are designed. They know that a load of people will sit down and just watch episodes on the run, so they kind of include stuff like that for the binge viewer, which they can.
Mhm.
But like I said, the acting was good. The pacing was a little off. I'd go with an 8.
Okay. If only they could
Fair
just stop
enough.
stealing internet web space. If only they could just stop stealing internet web space and internet awards from quote unquote real internet people.
Yeah,
Technically, isn't Amazon a real internet person? I'm pretty sure they were
True,
around first.
I know. I'm just going by what you were saying.
I know, but you're also definitely picking a side, which I was like, no, come on. They're damn good, and these are giving people the power of the network. So if we get to judge what shows come out next and stuff, and it's great entertainment. This is great. I'm really behind these shows.
So what you're saying, Mo, is we've got the touch. We've got the power.
you need to learn the song, dude. Seriously, if you're gonna sing it, learn it first. Anyway, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by a small man with a stash.
Hitler?
Sure, let's go with that.
Gomez Adams?
But
Okay, I'll stop mentioning people with mustaches who are short, right? As you go to speak, I'll stop.
thank you. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
That only works on you, Jim. And that wasn't
But-
me. I was my keyboard's away from me.
Fair enough. But yeah, like the other said, I felt the pacing was kind of off. The editing was not very good in some places. Primarily the scene transitions, of which they lacked, which is why it wasn't very good. It was all quick cuts, which hopefully they'll change and fix when they do the actual final version of it for release if it gets picked up, which I hope it does. But yes, the tone was pretty good. The acting was good. I felt it was, like I said earlier, a little too dark. And I felt that they.
Did you try turning up the brightness on your monitor?
Funny.
We laugh here, people. Banter.
We do. We do.
Banta.
Ah,
yes. But yeah, you know, as long as they keep that in check, and as long as they don't take the mindset of we're gonna put this shit in because we can, and I think it'll be a very good show, and I look forward to seeing where it goes. So I'll give this. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay. Fair enough. Also, by the way, we didn't bring it up, but I just would also like to mention the theme song was badass.
The theme song was pretty good, yeah.
I like that theme song.
It was pretty cool.
Okay. Well, this has been a look at the first of the Amazon pilots
Of this season.
of this season. There are 4 more forthcoming, and since we're live in the year here, would the next person like to pick the next pilot so we can tell them what we're going to be doing next?
And I could agree with that. Did you want to pick next, Marcus, or should I?
You go ahead, because I don't have the site up right now, so. Alright, so
Okay, Mo will pick
And I-
we'll go with you.
And I'm going to say next up will be the comedy series, Really.
All right.
Okay.
Stay tuned for next week, I guess. Next week's review, we will do the comedy series, Really. And until next time, see ya.